American authorities are searching for a skilled marksman with extensive firearms training who's now facing 8 counts of murder after a shooting rampage at a bowling alley and bar in Lewiston, Maine, left at least 18 people dead. 40-year-old Robert Card is an Army reservist and is considered armed and dangerous, and he may be hiding in the vast forests in the north of Maine near the Quebec border. The RCMP and Canadian Border Services Agency says it's alerted officers to be on the lookout.
And that's going to be the town of Lewiston at spare time recreation for an active shooter incident, multiple people down.
A tight-knit community on edge.
My nerves are rattled right now.
A shelter-in-place ordered in multiple towns in Maine.
I don't feel safe out here anymore.
Authorities say last night a man opened fire in 2 locations, killing at least 18 people and injuring more than a dozen.
Sherman County got multiple victims. I need multiple victims. I need every unit you can find.
Chilling surveillance images show the moments the mass shooting suspect's deadly rampage began. First at a local bowling alley, hosting a youth night for a kids' bowling league. Then traveling about 6 kilometers to the second scene at a restaurant.
My son actually, because he's manager of the bar and everything else, picked up a butcher knife and went after the gunman to try to stop him from killing other people. And that's when he shot my son to death.
Police say U.S. Army reservist 40-year-old Robert Card is a suspect.
This is a dark day for Maine. I know it's hard for us to think about healing when our hearts are broken. But I want every person in Maine to know that we will heal together.
This latest mass shooting is the deadliest in the U.S. since last year's school shooting in Uvalde, Texas.
Ironically, on Monday, the FBI designated Maine the safest state in the country. And although we have a very high percentage of gun ownership in the state, one of the highest in the country, I think the last figures I saw, we were the second lowest in the country. So that's why this incident is so shocking. And all of a sudden, we've got one individual out of 1.3 million who has just terrified this region.
We are really very shocked about that. We never thought it's going to be happen like that in Maine.
Barely 4 years ago, Maine's governor signed a law aimed at preventing mass shootings. It was called a yellow flag law, different from the red flag laws designed to seize guns from people viewed as threats.
Let's work together to ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. Let's work together to enact universal background checks, require safe storage of guns, and keep guns out of the hands of criminals and dangerous individuals who have no business being armed with a weapon of war.
Those measures in Maine now coming under greater scrutiny in the aftermath of yesterday's massacre. Authorities say Card had been committed to a mental health facility, had reported hearing voices, and made threats to shoot up a military base. Joining us now to talk more about this tragedy is Dr. Sarah Daly, criminologist specializing in mass violence and senior consultant at CGI. Sarah, events like this, they're really hard to wrap your head around. What compels someone to commit a mass shooting?
So there are a number of possible reasons, but one of the most common that we've seen is this notion of aggrieved entitlement and ongoing struggles. So historically, many of the shooters have experienced what they think are slights against them, either real or exaggerated or imagined. But oftentimes this is against their masculinity. So for many, they think that retaliation is the best revenge to reclaim that power that they think has been taken from them.
There are reports that the gunman suffered from mental health issues. It feels like a question we ask every time there's a mass shooting in the U.S., but could universal background checks have changed anything?
It's certainly a question that we ask over and over again, but we need to keep asking because this keeps happening. Stricter policies for background checks, extreme risk protection orders, or red flag laws could temporarily remove weapons from people who may be a risk to themselves or others. But that also comes with the caveat of asking them to surrender their weapons, or to send law enforcement to physically remove them from the home, which is risky. But there has to be a way forward. We need to take action on this, and we need to ask ourselves what price we're willing to pay to save lives.
The shooter has also been identified as a certified firearms instructor. There are legal gun owners in many other countries around the world, including here in Canada. Why is this problem unique to the U.S.?
Part of the issue is the number of guns per person in the United States is one of the highest in the world. But another part of it has to do with our culture, that we really celebrate violence. And in the United States in particular, we offer this fame and notoriety to shooters after their attacks. We splash their names and their faces everywhere looking for answers. And we have a general tolerance for this in the United States. We're sad when mass shootings happen, but then there's no action. So it invites more violence like it, especially when we have this lofty goal of the American dream. So when people feel like they don't get what they deserve, violence and revenge seem like a really suitable substitute, and that comes with fame, especially compared to the other option of simply choosing to die by suicide.
How can communities that have experienced mass violence like what happened yesterday in Maine rebuild both physically and mentally?
The part of it is leaning on each other, supporting each other, encouraging people to find professional help and support groups and grief groups. But I think communities that have been impacted, and there are so many of them now, but other communities too that haven't, need to look for warning signs and to act on those things and to say, what can we do to either support this person to get them the help that they need, or to raise these issues to law enforcement for preventative action.
Thanks so much for speaking with us, Dr. Daly.
Thank you.